Jamie. Maybe I'll move around if I can get it off. Good afternoon. Wow. This is a pretty good crowd for a Thursday afternoon. We are here today very directly to celebrate all of you and all the other young people in the Wichita Catholic Diocese, and then the people that serve you, the adults that serve you, starting with your parents, the greater community, the parish, all these outstanding administrators and principals and teachers. We're here to honor you and to share with you a brand new type of honor that the state boards put together to start to recognize student success and what it means to be student successful in 2019, which is much different than what it was in my generation or certainly my parents and my grandparents' generation. So I want to introduce to you, I work for 10 members of the Kansas State Board of Ed, and we are extremely proud to have all the Catholic dioceses throughout Kansas as members of our accreditation, and we're proud to accredit every one of the Catholic schools in the state of Kansas. We find that partnership is extremely beneficial, and I think that you do too. I want to send regards from Jim McNeese, who is your representative in this area. Jim has to be out of town today, but he served a long time both at Thomas More Prep and Bishop Carroll, among some other stops in his journey as an educator. But with us today is the chair of the Kansas State Board of Education, Kathy Bush. So please give a round of applause for Kathy. A few years ago, I went across Kansas to 27 different locations. I'm a native Kansan. I grew up in southeast Kansas. I've spent a lot of time in this area. I taught school in Andover a long time ago, and I've spent a lot of time in central Kansas. Most recently, before I took this position, I was the school superintendent in McPherson, just up the road a little bit. And when I took this position, the state board said, we want to go engage communities on what is it going to take to help every student in our school systems across our state to help them be successful. What is that going to take in 2019 and 20 and 21 and on? And so we found out some things. And I'm going to share some of those with you as we talk about the celebration we're going to have today. But we found out some things, and when we came back, the state board said there's going to be two parts to this vision. One, we're going to lead the world. So they likened it to Kennedy's challenge to land a man on the moon in the 1960s. And if you want to go back, or if your history teachers want to teach you this, or if you want to Google it, your choice, you'll find out at the time that President Kennedy said, we're going to go land a man on the moon by the end of the decade and return him safely to Earth, NASA couldn't successfully launch a rocket into space. We were struggling. 9 years later, we landed on the moon. Neil Armstrong set foot in July of '69, and we achieved that goal. We only did it because there was a collective effort to bring that to happen. The state board said, we don't care to be better than Oklahoma or Missouri because it's too easy. That's a joke. Okay? We want to lead the world. We're going to talk about some of those metrics because I'm going to give you a little hint. It's happening right here with the Wichita Catholic Diocese. So we want to lead the world. We're going to talk about what some of those metrics are. But the key is, as I'm looking out for all of you, is the success of each student. And recently I was in Iowa at the headquarters of ACT. Those of you that are juniors and seniors know them well. and get to know them well, because that score on that exam is going to determine admittance into school and scholarship into school. And as I talked to the researchers at ACT, they said, you know, Randy, it's interesting. When we look at the research from when young people get to be in their 30s, and we define success as they've gone on to graduate high school and they've gone on to some post-secondary and they are earning a living in the middle class or beyond, and they're giving back to their community, and they're these successful people. We can only equate academic success to about 1/3 of that success. Kansas told us that too. While academic preparation is extremely important, there's a whole host of other skill sets that have to be present for people to be successful. And it's that combination where the magic happens. And so the wording success is very intentional. We didn't say the word achievement. We said the word success, of which achievement is a subsection of that. And so we have found that in our journey, which is just starting, we're going to have to move schools in a little bit different era to meet the needs of an economy that's rapidly shifting. Ann and I were talking on the way down about how technology changes lots of things, including the economy that we live in here in Kansas. The student success skills are the ones we're talking about. Things like show up on time and set goals and be a good person and give back to others, be in the service of others. There's a whole host of those skills. They're called social and emotional skills, and they cover a wide gamut. We're trying to personalize the experience. That's really difficult, but we're really trying to do that, where we can look at each one of you, help you develop your passions, and then help individualize that plan for you. And it's strong engagement with families and business and our community, and then as much as we can, apply those skills in real-world applications. Ann's son he's at college, and he's transitioned to college, and we were just talking about that transition from age 18, 17, and 18 into young adulthood is an interesting transition. It's fraught with peril. You get to grow a lot. I have a couple of good friends here in the audience that helped, and we were with each other on a journey of young adulthood, and you make a lot of mistakes. And in our era, Tim and Randy, our era, there wasn't social media to record it every second, right? So we were able to make it. And we watched a lot of the people that we were in school with who were as bright and smart and maybe better, didn't make that transition. So we're trying to figure out how do we help you do that as we go forward. Here's what's shifted in Kansas. I think you understand this, but I want you to sit down with your grandparents, your parents, your aunts and uncles, and really have this conversation. My 4 grandparents went to a one-room schoolhouse. They finished their education in Kansas in 8th grade and never went to high school, and they were extremely successful. My parents, now deceased, only graduated from high school. And I say that my mom completed her baccalaureate degree in her 60s because the job that she had, she was the registrar at Coffeyville Community College, required a baccalaureate degree. She didn't have one. She earned that by going to work right out of high school, but she felt embarrassed. So she went back to school. My dad was a brakeman switchman on the Missouri Pacific Railroad. He spent his life on a caboose, on a train. He'd jump off and switch a track, and he'd go to the next town, and he'd do the same thing. You get stopped by a train on your way home, you'll quickly understand why the job that my dad had all his life is no longer there. It's automated. There's no caboose on the train. So they lived in a different era. But now, in our state, for the class of 2020 and beyond, 71% of the jobs in our state require you to have at least 2 pieces of paper. They require you to have a high school education and something else. Baccalaureate degree, master's, PhD, welding certificate, an associate degree from Butler County Community College to be a physical therapy assistant. But that economy requires something else. That has inverted in one generation. That's inverted in one generation. And so we want you to go on for that other piece of paper, or to think about the military, or an apprenticeship, or maybe taking over a family business, but having that skill work. We're going to talk about that. But our job requirements in Kansas require 2 pieces of paper. So if you talk to your business leaders, which I do frequently, many of you in here also are business leaders, they will tell you we are begging in Kansas for talented people to fill our existing jobs. Right, HR director? Because we don't have enough, and I'll share that with you as we go. This is the state of Kansas data. For those of you that got here early and got a seat on the back row, you are now having trouble reading this. I'm going to just walk you through, because you can see the yellow gold. That represents graduation from high school. State of Kansas graduates on a 5-year average, and you'll notice we look at a 5-year average, 86% of its kids. Again, if we were to compare that to any state in the country, we're in the top 10, and we certainly annihilate the states around us. But I want you to think about this. In our state, 14% of young people that start as freshmen never walk across the stage and graduate with their cohort group 4 years later. 14%. And the odds of them ever living in the middle class are less than 10%. That can't happen and help all of you be successful. But that second piece of paper that we talked about is 48%. So, class of 2020, this is what we're going to do in 2 short years. In July of 2022, we look out there and we take a snapshot of where you're at. And we ask this question: did you graduate high school? And did you go on to earn a second piece of paper, or are you still in school along that path? We'll look at that 2 years after you've left Kapaun or Carroll or Pittsburgh Colgan or any of the diocese schools. That's what we're going to ask. We've asked that question this summer of the class of 17. We'll ask it next summer of the class of 18. We want to know 2 years out, where are you at and what are you doing? 48% of kids over that 5-year period in Kansas have earned 2 pieces of paper, are still going to school. And remember, 71% of the job market requires that. So I want to share with you, and the reason I came today, your work, your hard work, your diligent work. Not just, again, the principals and the staff, your family, all the people that support you with your faith, all the meaningful people that have helped you get to where you are today and will continue to support you in the future. Here's your data. And they're just numbers that we'll go through, but those numbers represent a lot of hard work on a lot of people's part. I used to coach. In fact, I was kidding the staff. So I said, when I coached boys basketball, we didn't come over and play in this gym. This is really nice. It wasn't built at that time when I coached. But we often think about, when you teach and coach, all the things that you do other than X's and O's. Or I'm a history teacher, the content of history, of how we try to help young people grow. Over the last 5 years, we have gone back to the class of 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, and 13. All the way back to the class of 13. We're looking at all of those classes. On the Wichita Catholic Diocese, 99% of the young people have graduated high school. And in case you're like, well, duh, that's not happening everywhere. It's not happening everywhere. And then we're going to talk some about the 5-year, what we call effective average, going on for the second piece of paper, and then something very unique, which is called predictive value. We've taken into account all the risk factors that every school district, and we consider the Wichita Diocese as a school district. We've taken all the risk factors and taken a look at what gets in the way of students being successful. I want to share those 3 things with you today. They are poverty, they are chronic absenteeism, and they are mobility. How often do families move? Those are the three strongest risk factors that everyone has to overcome. But you know what? As I'm looking up here on the wall, from Kapaun and Carroll to West High School, use those 2 examples. Those 2 clienteles couldn't be any different, right? The clientele at West High School, clientele at Northwest High School, the clientele here at Kapaun. We've factored that in to our predictive values. We've equalized the playing field for all that, and we've asked the question, how are you doing relative to yourself? Because that's the true measure. How are we doing relative to the potential that we have? And so with that, and I'm going to, as we go forward, I'm going to ask Kathy Bush to join me, because we have 4 pieces of recognition today. And the state of Kansas is now giving out up to 4 awards. So I'm going to try to put it in perspective for you, because this is so new, it may be hard to understand what we're going to talk about. How many of you have ever seen on TV, or maybe you've got to see it in person, Olympic Games? And if you win the Olympics in any category, if you win the Olympics, you stand on a stand, they play the national anthem if you're from America, and what do they hang around your neck? A gold medal. I happen to have a sound bite from the last Winter Olympic Games. It's a sound file of the men's giant slalom. That's where you come down the big hill and you go through the gates, and it takes less than 2 minutes from the time they start to the time they finish. There were just under 50 contestants from all around the world in the men's giant slalom, and what they did was they put the sound file, a series of beeps, to the order that they finished in. From first, the gold medal, to the last, you don't get any recognition, but you're in the Olympics, pretty darn good to start with, right? And the sound file sounded something like this. Beep, beep, beep. That's how closely linked those competitors were from top to bottom. We're announcing today leading the world recognition. Not win your league. That's nice. Not participation medals, ribbons. We showed up. Do I get something? No. Not we whipped Oklahoma. No. Lead the world. These are levels we've never asked schools to obtain. And we didn't make them up. Kathy didn't make them up, the state board. They looked at what it would take to ensure, as much as we can, that you'll have the opportunities to do whatever you're passionate about in the future. That's what drives it. That's simply what drives it. So, the first award that we're going to give out is called the Prepared for High School Graduation Award, academically prepared. It's the Silver Award. It's a silver award to the Wichita Catholic Diocese for being prepared for high school graduation academically. That's elementary school through middle school through high school. So I'd like to present that to you right now. Congratulations. Congratulations. Now we'll have a little photo op. We're just getting warmed up. That's really good, by the way. You're thinking, that's silver. I thought he was talking about gold. That's silver. You know, I thought I was a pretty good high school athlete, but a long time ago, Jack Hartman, who coached at Kansas State, would have told you that I wasn't anywhere a very good college athlete. So silver at an Olympic Games is quite an accomplishment. It's world standard. But we're only getting warmed up. You got it wrong. Yeah. So here we go. To the Wichita Catholic Diocese. Graduation at the gold level. And what's a misnomer about this is that you get to award this to high school students because graduation happens in high school. I mean, that's where it culminates. But it happens in middle schools and elementary school and in early childhood centers, right? It happens early on with a lot of work. It just happens to be, it culminates with a graduation ceremony at high school. But the gold award, leading the world, no country, no state, no country, no state can beat the data coming out of the Wichita Catholic Diocese. So the gold award for Kansas high school graduation, the Wichita Catholic Diocese. Get to come back. That's okay. That's all right. And then going on there in the second piece of paper. When the state board looked at this and the data was clear about the economy of Kansas, all across the nation, people said, you are nuts to try to aspire to have 70% greater on the post-secondary effective, which are kids graduating high school and go on to earn a second piece of paper. It cannot be done. The state of Kansas is at 48% right now. It's being done. I'm looking at you. It's being done. I'm looking at the people that, some of the people, just a small sampling of the people that have worked hard for this event. A lot of people here worked hard. You are approaching 80%. Leading the world would have been at 70%. And so, it's my pleasure to give to the Wichita Catholic Diocese the gold recognition for post-secondary effectiveness. So you got to come back up. We'll bring other people. All right? We're happy to share. We're happy to share. Congratulations again.
Another picture?
Yeah, another picture.
Yeah, I keep going.
Another picture. Thank you. Oh no, it gets better. Okay? Because I came in, I'm going to mess up the cameras now. I came in and I'm looking, an old coach, whoa, pretty impressive. We got lots of state championships, right? And we just hung some. Gold, we just hung some, right? That's not why I'm here. That's good. That's really good. That's lead the world, but we're just about to destroy it. Okay? Boom! That's right. So listen to this. Remember that predictive value? So there will be some that will say today, well, Randy, yes, great kudos to a private school system, right? Great kudos. They have some advantages that public schools don't have. We were talking earlier. Yes, and public schools have some advantages. There's trade-offs. There's just trade-offs. We've calculated in poverty levels and risk levels like chronic absenteeism, and we factored in mobility. We factored that in for the Wichita Catholic Diocese. We've leveled the playing field. And I decided I was going to call this the Commissioner's Award. And the only way you can get it is that you have to better your predicted rate for post-secondary effective. And if you start to better it a little bit, we give you the Commissioner's Award. And if you better it by 1 standard deviation, which is pretty good, we give you the Commissioner's Award with honors. And then we come to the Wichita Catholic Diocese to give you today what would be the equivalent of a national championship, the Commissioner's Award with highest distinction, which means this: statistically, you have outperformed what we would predict you to do all the way back to the class of 2013 by over 2 standard deviations, or 25% greater than we would predict, even with taking the risk factors into account. No other country, no other state is doing that. And so it's my distinct honor to give to you the highest award we could possibly give to you today. The Commissioner's Award with highest distinction goes to the Wichita Catholic Diocese, and it's okay to get off your feet right now. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. You are such a big part of this. So proud. So proud of you. There you go. Come on. Come on, Bob.
You get to hold it.
You get to hold it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for recognizing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're broadcasting this to all of the diocese schools, all 38, because some people couldn't be here today because it's a long distance. So this goes out to everyone that's worked hard. We just wish we could have brought all your parents and all the support people that have been a part of your journey. And I want you to know we're only giving 4 awards this year. Next year we're giving 8. We're going into civic engagement and some other areas. I can't wait to come back and do all 8. What do you think? Okay? All right? Can't wait to come back and do all 8. So that'll be the challenge. By the way, the certificates we gave out, they're in a secure place that the diocese can access. You can distribute those in every classroom. You can any way you want. And these banners, the reason it was a little slow in coming up, they're such high resolution. We made these that you could put these at the top of the gym and all the way to the bottom, and they would be crystal clear. You can put these anywhere you want. These are yours to display proudly. But on behalf of the State Board, we're just so excited for you and happy for you. And now I will turn it back over to your superintendent. Janet. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And your parents, we are so grateful for this recognition. several hundred others who take care of things in our schools that make our schools better. From our maintenance people, to our office staff, to the cooks in our kitchens, our schools cannot run. A lot of times our administrators and teachers get so much credit, but in addition to that 765, all of that is part of my first shout out. Second shout out. We have 38, as Dr. Hudson said, 38 great schools. And oftentimes when we talk about the Wichita Diocese, we think, at least I have, and learned differently, but we think in our head Wichita because we say Wichita, the city, and we say Wichita, the diocese. But the reality is that our diocese is a great area of this wonderful state of Kansas. So from in person, like you here today, out to Kingman, all the way to our city, and clear out to Fort Scott, Kansas. That's the diocese of Wichita. That's who we are. That's comprised of the 18 schools that are the city schools, but the 20 schools who are our rural schools that we are grateful for their education and their determination as well. So again, shout out to all 38 and in particular the excellent people of the schools. And finally, it took a phone call a couple of days ago and some coaxing, led in the sense of this great real this diocese was for 25 years. I had the pleasure of coming up here, and I've been having for the but the true recognition, the true leadership that says to be Catholic first and to take care of all of our needs is Mr. Boberl, and we're so grateful for his service. So finally, in closing, it is the constant mission of our schools to help you and young people and the 10,353 students that are in addition to or separate, I guess, subtracted out from you, a little less than that. Altogether, 10,353 young people that we have the privilege every day to serve and to help you. Our number one mission is to help you get to heaven. So in Thanksgiving to 34 parish elementary schools, and in Thanksgiving to a high school with Celtics, Trinity Catholic, a high school with Panthers, a high school with Golden Eagles, and a high school with Crusaders. Thank you so very much for this honor. Thank you for being here. The surprise has been really incredible to keep as a surprise. So I always tell my husband, surprises are not always so good unless they're flowers. Surprises, thank you so very much. And thank you, teachers of Kapaun and actually for hosting this Kapaun Mt. Carmel Catholic High School. Thank you so very much.
Once again, on behalf of all of us here in the Catholic Diocese of Wichita, Dr. Watson, thank you so much for coming out and spending time with us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show our appreciation.
happen.